Hi, everybody. I'm Diane Brady. I'm here with Michael Del Castillo, senior editor and codebreaker for Jack Dorsey. Let's talk about the genesis of this Morse code response that you got. And it started with this donation. Actually, probably predates that, doesn't it?
Well, so I've been covering the decentralized social media space for a while now. One of the biggest and most exciting competitors to Twitter is called Nostr, Nostr.
Mm-hmm.
It is I have a Nostr account, as with many other Nostr competitors. That happens to be one of two, along with Blue Sky, that Jack Dorsey is investing in and using.
Mm-hmm.
So I was playing around on Nostr, just reading, getting to know the users. And I saw that Jack had posted that he just announced a $10 million donation to a nonprofit called OpenSats for two main purposes: to support Bitcoin development and to support entrepreneurs that were building on the Nostr protocol. Did a quick search, as us journalists do, and found that nobody had written it. So I immediately stopped my work and started working on a short little news hit about this $10 million investment, $5 million of which was going to go towards Nostr and $5 million for other Bitcoin development. OpenSats, which is a nonprofit organization, released a short little press release. So I was able to do most of my work based on the press release. But I'd been reaching out to Jack for months.
On Nostr or across all the various
kinds
ways?
Of stuff. How
does one reach Jack Dorsey? It's very enigmatic.
If one is a reporter, one doesn't reach Jack Dorsey. He doesn't seem to like engaging with reporters very much. It could be because he doesn't like us personally. It could be because he happens to have access to a social media platform that lets him communicate directly with his audience. One way or another, Jack Dorsey had not been responding to me for months across numerous related stories. And so I did a reply to the Nostr post that he had mentioned. And I asked him, how would you like to see this money used? And then I forgot about it, and I went and I wrote the article. Didn't hear anything, published the article. And about 5 minutes after the article went live, I got a response from Jack. It was my first response in 5 months writing
in Morse code.
In Morse code.
I can't decide if that's clever or hubristic or just typical. I mean, how did you react when you saw that?
Well, I was elated.
Giddy? Yeah.
I was elated because I had, for my previous story about Blue Sky, which was originally conceived of while Jack was still at Twitter, with the promise that Twitter would use it. I had reached out to Elon Musk to ask for a comment from him as to whether or not he was still planning on honoring the promise that Jack Dorsey had made that Twitter would use Blue Sky. And from Elon Musk, or I should say from the press email address at Twitter, I got a poop emoji response. I got actually 3 poop emoji responses.
Right.
Because
less
Elon
sophisticated,
Musk
perhaps, than
also
Morse
doesn't
code.
like reporters, and has automated that response to anybody that sends an email. So getting a Morse code message from Jack felt like a huge step up.
Well, and the Morse code, if we translate it, right, that Bitcoin becomes the native currency of the internet, and the internet gets a native protocol for social media. That was how it was translated.
Yes.
So I still need another layer of interpretation.
I don't blame you.
Interpret that English for me.
I don't blame you. So Bitcoin is often referred to as the native or a potential native cryptocurrency of the internet. I think what that means is that unlike other currencies prior to Bitcoin that ostensibly had some sort of backing, whether or not it was gold in a safe off the internet, whether or not it was Ivy League educated bankers that were controlling interest rates and supply of the currency itself, again, off the internet. the value of these currencies was all being controlled by assets and human beings offline. Bitcoin, because it's not reliant on a central bank, because it's not reliant on a government, because there is nothing behind it but electricity and mathematics, it is very, very similar to the internet itself. And there's often been this claim that the internet has needed a financial layer. Similarly, there has been concern that there is no native way to prove one's identity in the internet. And this has allowed people like Mark Zuckerberg and, ironically, Jack Dorsey himself to make a bunch of money by letting us prove who we are with identities that they control.
Blue check.
Blue check. Great
Right.
example. Jack Dorsey and his peers at Twitter, before Elon bought it, created this checkmark system that let us verify who we were. Elon Musk, when he bought it, started charging for that ability. And Nostr is a decentralized social network that lets us create identities that we can then move with us from competing social network to competing social network.
How is it different from Blue Sky? Because I've been intrigued by Jack Dorsey investing in essentially what seem to be competitors to the company he started, Twitter.
Definitely. Very interesting. So functionally, I think it's actually very similar. They both move the identity component of the social network into something that's called a protocol, which is basically software that anybody can use. And what that does is, instead of having social networks compete over who has the biggest network, it gives everybody the same playing field and lets them compete over who has the best algorithm, who has the best user interface, who has the coolest design, other features other than
and
who
buyers
has the biggest social network.
They can take their assets with them to another, basically.
Assets, interestingly, including their followers themselves, which is really counterintuitive at first, because you would think that you would have to get all of your followers to agree to move with you. But by moving that identity layer into the software, by moving it a step closer to the internet itself, hence Jack's choice of words there, you actually do allow a user to leave a network to another network and literally take their followers with them without those followers having to leave their network.
So let me get back a little bit to the code to end it, the Morse code. So you're a man of letters yourself. I know you're off to yet another academic pursuit later in the year. Is this typical, or, were you even surprised by the response, Morse code or not? Was it what you'd expect him to say?
I never expected it. I have never received an encoded response. I've received encrypted responses, but I've never received a response to an interview question in code. It was pretty easy to tell right away this was ... I could tell it was a code.
There's an app for that.
I suspected it was Morse code. I certainly just typed in Google Morse code translator.
And you responded
dropped it in there.
Sanskrit. What did you respond?
I responded in Morse code, and I asked him, because I was excited, I had gotten a response, if he would be interested in doing an entire interview in Morse code. I've been trying to get him to do interviews for months and no luck. So I asked him if he would do an entire interview in code. And he responded to that as well, also in Morse code, all one word, an interview about what?
Oh, okay. Well, that's hopeful.
And so I was even more excited. Maybe he would respond. So I went and I typed out basically a proposal for what I'd like to talk to him about, and I translated it into Sanskrit.
Oh, okay.
And I responded in Sanskrit with a proposal for what we could talk about. Now, I'm not 100% positive about this, but I do believe that's the end of the conversation, because Jack has not responded since.
Oh, well, maybe I think back to Morse code you go. Michael Del Castillo, thank you, and good luck with your future code breaking. And
thank
Jack
you so
Dorsey,
much.
Come on, Sanskrit, not that hard.
It was maybe the shortest interview I've done, but it was also really fun.
I bet. Thanks.
Thank you.